Welcome on back everyone to Total Warhammer 3 in part 3 of our legendary Changeling Immortal Empires campaign. In today's episode, we find ourselves here in diplomacy with Ostland of all folks, speaking to Valmir von Raukov, and because a very intriguing opportunity has presented itself here with Festus the Leech Lord in March stance, moving towards destroying Middenstag here. So Festus has not only left himself out in the open to give us an extra land battle, now we could acquire the form of Festus and use it to burn down the rest of his territory, which I think is perfect. So we'll leave Middenheim here, because Alexis needs to fatten up a little bit more before we harvest his experience. We'll join the war against the Wait, is Valmir fighting the Ice Court? Ostland, what are you up to? We'll take your money.
As you say, sir.
As you say, sir. Oh yeah, I guess we do look like Boris right now, don't we? So Boris is now sided with Ostland to destroy the Fecundites. Riding to the rescue.
More souls.
And because Boris is not exactly who I would like to fight the Fecundites with, let's switch over to Kairos. Assume his form for battle. And now we will be a champion of Tzeentch versus a champion of Nurgle.
Pawns from play.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and break this siege. Woe is me, we've got our towers built up. That'll allow them to actually build up some new troops, and we can maybe even catch them in an ambush. So we'll break the siege. Let's go hunt down Festus. Come here, buddy. We could just go... Oh, we don't have enough for a teleport stance. We could just warp up on him and get a free ambush. Not this time. We'll move in. Pyrrhic Victory. Now we need to fight this one on the map. So Festus has a lot of heavily armored lads here. A bunch of Chaos Warriors. Halberdy Warriors, so we're going to want to do our best to blast them to bits from range. We're going to have our tank firing on the giant pretty much the entire time. It's time for it to prove itself. How much damage can you get on a big boy like this? Got a lot of missile resistance, which means we may want to go for the trolls first. Let's find out. Kairos Fate Weaver versus Festus. Now it's time to show the Leech Lord just how superior Tzeentch is. He looks incredible though. If you haven't seen the model for Festus, he is disgusting. He's got his little cleaver hanging from his back, banner covered in Nurglish script with his little, like, I don't know if this is a mutated tentacle coming out of his back or what, but he's got one on the other side too. And this one looks more like a pump, where it is stuck in the bottom of this horribly bulging sack. I don't know if it's pumping poison into his little brew here or into him himself, which either one I don't want to know the answer of. This we are going to get to show off the supremacy of all of the skills that are going to actually slow the enemy to a crawl. Had a mention in the comments that we should have given the Tormentor Sword on over to Kevin the Orb Keeper, that way he can fly in over the tops of lads and stop them from moving for our Changebringers or any of our other flamethrower style units. We also have brand new additions, being the Screamers. Show off the stats on these guys, a lovely bit of bonus versus large, but they just never seem to work out all that well for me. I believe they were given a few additional models. They, I think, started with 12 and they're up to 16 now, so we'll see if that is enough to make them worth using. It should be basically unstoppable in the skies, basically your full aerial supremacy unit, but most other factions don't have enough flyers to actually make that worthwhile. We've got the Changeling himself moving up front, going to be transforming into Kairos momentarily. We'll be blasting out all of the spells towards Festus himself, and actually we'll start off with these trolls here. Since they are able to regenerate, we can knock them out quite quickly. And every model that's gone, they will cease to regenerate. So we'll send the Orb Keeper in, stop them from moving. He's going to get some Rancid Visitations dropped on him, so he'll eat through the barrier first, and then since our little horrors have very low health, it's going to hurt quite a bit. So our next targets, after these trolls just got obliterated, is going to be Festus himself. We'll see what a full volley does to him here. Not a bad bit of damage at all, is it? We were a little bit slow with the blue fire, so we could have taken even more from these flamers, but he is now in Kairos mode, where Festus is getting obliterated. Plague of Rust also drops down to weaken that armor even further, as his health pool drops to basically zero. Kairos also has an ability that stops lads from moving, so good old Eye of Fate drops down, and Kairos descends to bully the poor exalted hero of, I believe this boy is of Nurgle? He is indeed. He's got a bit of a plague horse. Kairos' hands are indeed rated E for everyone, and now we are going to switch the Changebringers over to flamethrowing the Chaos Giant. They took a little bit of damage from just Festus being around, but now they're going to unleash Warp Flame on the Giant of Chaos, who is down to 7,000 health. He's a chunky boy, and will be mitigating quite a bit of it, but you can see just how much damage is being taken with each volley. Over on the other side, our Screamers and Furies have descended to maul his fast movers like the Chaos Poison Hounds, and then our tank is firing as many shots towards the Giant as possible. He's now moving over into the woods because he really doesn't like being shot by both Flamers and tanks, as you would expect most would not. The Flying Chicken is also moving in to help, but the Flamers and our Changebringers, that is, are keeping the hate up on the Chaos Giant, who is down to 3,000 health, dealing about 1,300 with each volley, which is not bad. Kairos is still bogged down with the Exalted Hero, but he's going absolutely nowhere. On the Chariot, it is actually a pretty poor single combat duelist. We'll get some anarchy off. Single combat duelist, so you can basically bog them down with any of your heroes or lords that has a pretty good amount of melee defense and win that fight pretty handily. Blue Horrors and Flamers are starting to unleash hell up on the front line. The tattered Forsaken of Nurgle that made it in are probably going to wish they just stayed on the ground. Got the Cockatrice surrounding the Giant there, giving him the Angry Gaze. That way he is going nowhere. Got several. This is our third unit with a stop moving spell. Your Cockatrice only has one, where Kairos has 3. And then your Tormentor Sword is on cooldown. And then we almost forgot the Severed Claw. These are our aspired champions of Tzeentch. Slow them down. They look incredible. You can see how hulking they are even compared to your Zangors. They dwarf them. Whole bunch of muscle, whole bunch of arcane might. Your Severed Claw are going to be an almost unbreakable wall, especially, I guess, when slicing down Zangors that are acting up. Playing Tzeentch is just beautiful. Most of our enemies already running for the hills. They never really stood much of a chance anyway. Even a combination of Halberd Warriors and Great Axes are struggling against our Furies and Screamers. If the Screamers can land their attacks, they do lots of disruption on the enemy where they kind of knock them around. That does lend a little bit to their survivability. We'll pull on out to allow the Tzeentchian Steam Tank to blast in. It'd actually be great if you could kind of mark these guys for Tzeentch, any of your units that aren't from the Tzeentch roster. And then it just gives them a barrier and maybe magical attacks. Steam Tank is putting in some work. How many kills are you up to? Well, 45. It's not the most work. Nurgle runs for the hills since they are in March stance, and none of these guys are going to survive, but we'll do what we can to round them up all the same. What a fun battle. We drop-kicked Festus through the wall. Who gets the golden sword this time? Looks like it is actually not going to be our Changebringers. They did a fantastic job, though, taking down Festus, those trolls, and the Giant before they even made it to our lines. That was incredible. So these guys are even better than I initially thought. Changebringers all the way. I think we are going to go ahead and devour those captives, even though there's not that many. We didn't take all that many losses, so what we're going to do is we're going to offer them up as tribute for a little bit more gold on our side. And then can we reach Voltros as well? We do have a plague now. See if it's a bad one or not. We've got the form of Festus, which we are going to take on pretty quickly here. Because we're cheeky and I like taking down factions with their own faction leader. We won't retain Festus because it is really, Festus is incredibly powerful, especially if you're using a bunch of units that have barrier. It's almost impossible to kill them, so we're not going to go for that. Dark Apothecary may be in need of a doctor himself after tangling with this one. Defeated Festus. We gain more casualty replenishment rate, or vigor loss reduction for the whole army. We've got the Shrieking Sky Rays, which always disappoint me. And now the heavens send their love, your sudden death from above. Fair enough. If you yourself though have any kind of overpowered strategies you like to use, do not hesitate to put those in the comments. I'm just not going to necessarily use them for our campaigns here because I like to try to keep things a little bit, at least a little bit competitive for our enemies. Try to give us kind of varied armies and things, show off as much as we can. Yeah, no one cares about our allied armies. We're gonna grab parasitosis. What do you mean? I already had the supplies to the front. Giggles and Tzeentch. We've got a new Tzeentchian familiar for more line of sight. We'll take it. And thank you so much for the comment there reminding me we can have the Tormentor Sword here on Kevin. Since he's flying around all over the map, he can basically stop lads from moving at will, which is insane, especially since we were using it in tandem with Kairos' ability there.
This win is mine.
Stopping enemies from moving. Oh no. Well, now we are in the middle of nowhere. Let's do some channeling then, so we can keep our Winds of Magic Reserve at maximum. Which, if you're above this little threshold here, you gain more movement range and then 8% more barrier replenishment rate, which is going to be great for keeping your lads alive in the fray. It drops below a certain amount, you start taking penalties, but it's not going to show us here. They may be different for the four gods, but I believe you at least lose physical resistance. We've got 7,000 gold. Before I spend it on any other settlements that are not over here in Drakenhof, let's make sure that's where we're spending the majority of our gold. So when this Torturer's Shack goes in, we added this building last turn. We'll gain 40 discoverability, which I think is just 20 more than it previously was. Let's see our lineup here. Yes, we'll gain 20 discoverability. That's still up to completely base 0. So let's go on in and add in the House of Havoc as well for more cult supplies and grimoires, and then 12 additional Tzeentch corruption. It'll take 10 whole turns. That is a long time. The cult does not build quickly. Okay, then in that case, let's continue to try to get a little bit more gold under our belt. So we'll be getting 300 from Wartbad. Not a bad decision. I don't think we have any other faction or provincial capitals under our control just yet, so probably the way to go.
Darkness comes.
We'll grab the Shrouded Financier, and then we'll also see about maybe the hidden storehouses here in this settlement for just an additional 150 to our income. Got quite a few discoverability buildings there, so let's maybe come back in and grab the Court of Whispers for more Winds of Magic, or just the Bird Box, which will give us more discoverability. We don't want to discover, or be discovered here, so let's come on in and go for, I guess, the Court of Whispers. So whoever owns Kimperbad, we're going to have a little bit better relations with them. Don't want to lose any of my cults just yet. All the others are pretty well under the radar for now. Maybe here at Flensburg they could use a little bit more help, but we could just upgrade this building for that one. Sweet business. We'll skip on through here. Check diplomacy real quick. I don't think there's a whole lot we'd like to change just yet. Non-aggression with Black Pit. How much gold do you have? Not really enough to make it worth it. Alright, so for now, nothing. We pass the turn and see what response Festus has for us. We won't be taking any attrition, and we'll actually be replenishing up, so good chance we can just dropkick these fools, depending on what the Warriors of Chaos are able to pick up.
Fruits of manipulation.
We have ourselves a quest battle. We do indeed. A one to give us a cold Hellbrass. Ensure that the following building has been constructed, a chapter house of knowledge. Word has spread of a noble's son, a once great knight of the Empire, who roams the chaos waste in search of a greater purpose. Most remarkably, he bears the insignia of a Tzeentchian cult, Brethren of the Golden Eagle. His loyalties had him pursued doggedly for a time by the Templars of Sigmar, the Empire's witch hunters. Once they caught up, he proved his status as the greatest swordsman in the Knightly Order. Perhaps in time, this champion in the making will make his way to us. But in the meantime, we must ensure that there are more like-minded warriors to help him embrace chaos. We've also got the quest battle for the Trickster's Staff, where we've got the Changeling always had his multitudinous fingers in many pies, and one scheme put into motion many days prior is now coming to delightful fruition. The Trickster's Staff, an ancient Tzeentchian artifact of little importance to the Old Worlders other than being worth of a great deal of gold, sits securely in the vault of the dwarf merchants at Karak Asgaraz. By the Changeling's machinations, it had previously been in the possession of Empire merchants, only for him to promptly steal it back from them and plant it into the dwarf's possession. With his deceitful whispers, the Empire merchants have been led to believe that the dwarves stole their priceless artifact, and they now prepare to march on Asgaraz, where bloodshed will surely ensue. The Changeling, of course, will take his customary front row seat. We've got the enemy forces being a combination of Dawi and the Empire. It says we have reinforcements expected, so we won't immediately kick this one off. I'd like to have a few more bruisers on our side of the field first. We'll get to that as soon as we can. We've got a new mission issued, a second front, recruit an additional lord. I think we will quite soon. We need the income to be able to actually afford them, though, as most of our demon warriors are quite expensive. And likely we're going to go ahead and recruit them up over here in Drakenhof. That way we can have them start attacking the more minor dwarven factions and start building up those victories against the Dawi.
I thirst.
You thirst. I do as well.
Of unwelcome truth.
Hergig is a capital. We have to take them all out regardless.
Remove these.
So let's move in, weaken Hergig first. Decisive victory. We'll see how bad the auto-resolve is mean to us here. Let's find out. Not bad at all. 53 lost. And we'll go ahead and turn this into a symbiotic trickster cult. Or do we just raise it? Let's turn it into a trickster cult. It should already have no defenders, so the Empire might be able to move on in either way. We are still in channeling stance, so we should be able to keep building up those magics. Perfect. As for our next skill point, we can either get first come, first served, which drops enemy movement range and increases our own in enemy or raised territory. Or I come in peace? No, really. Giving our allied recruitment units more melee attack and reload time reduction. So this might work out for any ogre mercenaries we recruit in too. Movement range is great. Let's go for this one. We'll try to have ourselves a strange combination of troopers here in this army. For the long run. We'll go for magical reserves for Kevin. That way we have more for the squad.
Fickle and fine. This win is mine.
Perfect. Bergig came on in with money-making building, but it's not going to be making much to start. Altdorf being razed to the ground is quite unfortunate. We could go ahead and plop on in the blue bonfire for flamers, which I'm going to do right away. And that'll be that, yeah. I'd like to recruit in a lord down here, but if he gets spotted, he's just going to get drop-kicked. And then with the changes, it's going to then reveal the nearest trickster cult, which they will pretty much immediately destroy.
Many souls for the master.
Alright, one more turn on our research there, so let's move through and end the turn. Alright, Barakvar has been destroyed, and now Karn is pulled up in her gig. We've got the Architect's chosen technology finished up though, so deep within the Crystal Labyrinth, the Weaver of Fates pulls the strings of time. Thus do his myriad servants grow in strength and wisdom at a natural pace. More recruit rank and more hero action success chance. I'm going to leave Karn here in her gig, which is now being assaulted by many. We're going to move up here to take down Faltros. And I'm just going to raise the Brass Keep to start. You're going to run away, are you? Cowardly. And apparently we don't have any more movement range. Oh, we do. Perfect. Oh, I still can't reach him. Now, channeling stance isn't going to actually net us any more than we previously had in terms of maxed out wins and magic. 100 is your cap there. See if we can't get between him and Krudenwald. If Karn and Faltros want to fight me at the same time, I'm here for it. Those poison hounds will burn nicely.
It was I who left
I'm going to come on in then.
precious silver apples of knowledge.
Teleport stance costing 100% less is pretty fantastic. Recruit rank, recruit rank. Let's go for Champions of Change, and then we'll come on over here and probably start unlocking some more of the Winds of Magic and things like that. That way we can start using our army abilities.
I love Loki.
Because we're casting so many spells, we should be
Once it's the wood.
blasting out Fires of Change quite rapidly here. We got 2,000 gold. Cease. We'll come on in then, and Altdorf is never going to make us any gold at this point. And Grunberg would be making a very small amount because of the Beastmen there. Be making none. Alright, well,
Will drown in blood.
perhaps we save a bit of gold. All of our buildings here in Drakenhof are maxed out. We could get rid of the Parliament of Lies and switch it over for one of the other income-making buildings, especially if it's going to give us any Tzeentchian corruption. No, and it does increase the control in the area. The Dark Ritual would, and then it would summon an army at the end. Which this could be a good way to actually summon in our new force. That 40 less discoverability is quite nice, though. Destroying that now, I think, would be a bad call. Let's go ahead and increase the financier here at
To make his brass diorama.
per gig. Just not making any gold right now, are they? Underground Temple for a little bit of maintenance cost, but it's going to boost up our relations with all of the other Warriors of Chaos factions. This will allow us to start actually getting in some alliances, so I think let's go for it. One here in Hergig. We may not have many more, though.
Why not?
And actually, is there a version of that that's not so aggressive? Nope, that's the only one. Underground Temple is for Chaos, the other one is for trying to boost things up with the faction that owns the settlement. Right then.
I am outside,
That'll be the turn.
but part of
Alright. We're in business. I think if we now move to raise the Brass Keep, we'll get attacked by both of these factions, so if we make sure and lose next to no one in this fight, since there's not going to be any missile troops, it should be quite easy. It's just tier 3. Missile troops are going to be only the 4 lads on horseback.
chaos incarnate.
So in we march. From here, that's basically cutting off all of their power structure. A valiant defeat, is it? You know what? I kind of want to lure them all in, fight them all together. Have a proper brawl. So let's start putting in the battering ram and some towers.
Fight fiercely, but not fair.
And lure in Karn and Faltros.
You will be sacrificed.
They're basically going to be forced to come over here and fight us. I'm going to switch over from Kairos to Festus, like I said. And we're going to be using his, not Blight Boil, where is it? Rants of Visitation to try to rip down the heroes as fast as we can, lower their leadership. So all of those marauders trying to run for the hills quite quickly. But this way, they should all fight me out on the map,
Bring them change.
which will give us additional land battle in the Empire Theater. It's going to take us a long time to get these.
My cantrips at king.
Alright. I think now we kind of wait. Because I would also like to get in a few more of the buildings that will allow us more heroes. So here in Hergig, we've already got a discoverability building going in. Let's put in the mini-eyed tribute here. That way we can hopefully boost it up by the time the changeling's turning back around. I do want an armored front line of likely just the Forsaken. Something nice and expendable, but they can also deal out some nice damage. Tzeentch corruption's up to 11. How many are we increasing per turn? Just one. Yeah, they're not going to be very happy that Tzeentch corruption is increasing there. Not one bit.
Let us bring.
No, they're not going to go for it. They're just going to huddle while they fall. Perfectly good strategy, I think. As soon as the Empire takes back over Hergeg, we'll actually start making some money. Changeling. We'll use our battering ram and we'll move on in here to slaughter the defenders of the Brass Keep. Onward to victory. What an incredible vista. I've actually almost never seen the Tzeentchian battle ram here, so covered in claws. I wish this thing could breathe fire on the way in, that would be awesome, but yeah, no, this thing looks awful. I'm sure a great big crystal ram is perfectly capable of knocking through these gates. Got the Changeling turning into Festus the Leech Lord. Prepare to deliver the Fecundites some plague. The head of a huge Tzeentchian warhost. What's going on? Since we are now able to Vanguard deploy our entire army, we are going to absolutely be up in everyone's faces for all of these sieges. Very low range on most of your horrors means they'll get shot up a lot on their way in, so we can minimize that. We'll still take some damage, but they are going to deal as much as possible back. Great. A little bit of metal spells coming down as we send the Furies over the top to harass isolated Marauder Horsemen there. Metal already ripped apart a good deal of the lads on the walls, and there's a ton of them there, so if we can get a few more spells, all of Festus's are going to be pretty much useless against the lads on the wall there, because of the damaged ones are all going to be kind of for lads on the ground only. Got the Flamers, the Cockatrice, and our Iridescent Horror hunting down all of his skirmish cav. And we've got a troll toll to be paid by our Furies and Sky Rays. We want to try to pull them out of combat as quickly as we can, since they are flying. As long as they disengage for I think it's like 1 or 2 seconds, they're able to get up in the air no problem. Cockatrice is going to stomp about in those skirmish cav while Festus knocks on the door. They might be aware that we're not on their team, though. We have got him on the damage variant, since he's not going to be able to take any under the gatehouse there. Anyone that decides to sit above him is going to be wishing they hadn't. Absolutely love the flames on the horror shot. Definitely need to go ahead and switch up the attack order on our Changebringers. They have annihilated their targets. And pretty much now anything else here is going to be a fantastic use of their ammo. Everything left has pretty heavy armor, and we can blend it up in 1 to 2 shots. Gates are almost knocked on open. We managed to pull most of the Sky Rays away from their aggressors, and they can go ahead and maul these horsemen that thought they were safe in the back line. You're never safe. Now the Changebringers are going to be moving to going after the armored Chaos Trolls. Definitely the most dangerous target these guys have got left here. After a single volley, it's not the most damage, but one of their models has fallen. You have to get through the armor initially. That was a much better volley there. Warp Flame, dropping the armor and giving them a weakness to fire. Definitely weren't going to survive. Since the ram has now made it to the gates, it can start working. Festus nearly made it in, so just one bonk and we should be right inside those walls. Perfect usage. Continuing to spread now the heals for our blue horrors that are having to come up on the walls themselves. Because they are so much shorter than normal Chaos Warriors, they're actually great at staying in the way and letting the blue horror and blues with remaining ammo fire up the top of them. But since they have such low armor, any friendly fire is going to hurt really badly. The last set of trolls getting absolutely cooked. And it looks like the Brass Keep is on its last legs. blue horrors receive the Curse of the Leper, so anyone dealing damage to them is going to take some back in return. So we should see a good deal of health ripping off these guys for every blow they deal. So that's the depleted barrier icon there. I figured exactly what that was. Festus now dueling with the Chaos Lord of Nurgle, who's probably incredibly confused. Incredibly confused. Once again, the Furies and the lovely Screamers, I'm not sure what's happening here, but they are fantastic at ripping apart any isolated units, just sending them around to go after the different towers, and our iridescent horror needs to be turned back around. Now the proper Flamers need to start getting some shots in. And like that, Nurgle's Rot has been purged from this Dark Fortress. We're going to round up any survivors. That's the battle. Never any doubt. We had to sacrifice a couple of our blue horrors, but that's exactly what they're there for. We'll take the win, and we shall just go ahead and raise this to the ground. Indeed. If anyone wants to come back and reclaim this, we'll then set up a Trickster Cult in that place. But until then, we're going to destroy the rest of the Fecundites. That will we gain the Arcane Healing there, so all of our armies will get 10% more replenishment rate, which will just make sure we retain all of our momentum going forward. For the Changeling, we're up to tier 14, which means, oh, we can get both of these. I thought this was, one was locked. Excellent. Well, we're just going to go for it. Now You See Me, so we've got even more reinforcement range by 50%, and then stock for the whole army. So, yeah, now our whole army is invisible. We have become Oxyotl. For the Orb Keeper, let's just go for extra units with the Locus of Transmorgification, which lets us summon in 2 squads of blue horrors.
This win is mine.
Pretty good ability there. We'll also want cultists for the same exact thing. We can't go into an ambush stance, but we are currently invisible, so if we gotta make sure we're in the middle, we should be able to catch either one here. I know there's another army hiding off the side here in Hergang, unless they got wiped out. We've got 11,000 gold. Let's come on in and now get our additional army. I think as long as we're recruiting them up somewhere in these 3 provinces, we should be able to use the Exalted Pinks, or just normal Pink Horrors. So let's go ahead and recruit up an army here in Flensburg, and we'll just kind of make our way through towards the Dawi and the Empire, or the Dawi and the Undead. So we've got the new Chaos Lord, a Sorcerer Lord, or a Herald. I think let's try out one of our new the new units. We've got Karn. Love this helmet. Karn with his iron skin, or Rel with his scaled skin. A man of iron or a man of scales? Let's go for iron. Already going to be recruited in with a Chaos Steed, which is awesome. We just need to make sure we can hide him away and not get caught right off the bat. You're going to be taking attrition because of the Vampiric Corruption, which is no good. That's our second front, rather. Initiated.
I require greater numbers.
So if we go for just getting a couple pink horrors and then pinks and blues, and hopefully Vlad doesn't turn around. If he goes back to Flensburg, we're in all the trouble.
Lord of Tzeentch.
So Karn, we'll go ahead and give you Dominating Presence for a bit of experience. Route Marcher so we can move away from here. Hearts of Iron for the Vigor Loss reduction. You look amazing. Look at these colors. It's like an impossible blend of blue and purple. I didn't even realize that. I thought this was like a shadow at first. No, he looks amazing. This helmet will be so heavy. Changeling recruits only the strongest. We'll grab a Tzeentchian Familiar, and then let's actually switch over the Zealot to his army. That way we are more likely to be able to keep building up that Tzeentch corruption here. Awesome. Welcome, Karn. Still got 9,000 more gold to spend. Praise Sigmar. Well, they've reclaimed Altdorf. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and throw in the Shrouded Financier here then. Altdorf is going to start building up gold very quickly once they do. Same thing here in Grunberg. Now that the Empire is starting to regain their footing, we can actually start making some money. Discoverability is starting to increase here in Flensburg. What if we go for... So we need the chapter house. Which one is that? Transmorgification locus. Let's see if it'll... Here's what we're looking for here, is the chapter house of... Make sure I actually know. Chapter house of knowledge. Which is this one. That's quite a ways up there. We've got one of these buildings up in Hergig. Very soon. We'll have to just start moving up here. Then that's no problem. Let's go for the Shrouded Financier for when that is reclaimed by the Empire or even the Ice Court.
I am everyone.
4,000 more gold. What can we spend this on? Don't mind if I do. The Chamber of Agony is going to cost 300 per turn, but it'd be a 12% chance to expand the cult. Yes, please. And now we've got +4 every turn. Beautiful stuff. That's only going to increase as those buildings go in.
Friend, enemy,
Oh, you want peace, do you?
what's the difference?
Oh, there's no peace, Big Chin. Only destruction. Alright, so we'll take this opportunity to be incredibly rude. Averland is consigned to history. We'll just move up and deal with Karn.
Is my name.
The Empire should kind of be able to mop things up on their own from here. Let's go Gleaming Pendant on our Flamers, since they're usually in the center of our entire formation, and we'll just auto-resolve this one.
Bring them change.
You poor fool. We will conjure 8 Locus here, which I believe this will give us the chance to get the Execute Captives trait.
Today I choose death.
10 out of 10 on the voice lines.
Deceiver.
And then we'll have the Changeling just go into March Stance. Back on down towards Grudenwald.
To infinite outcomes.
Anyone wants to try anything, I am happy to throw hands. Go changing of the ways. I think it's going to be a good idea to go for this with Karn here. As we kind of move through Flensburg and start moving towards good old mountains. The Darkland Mountains. What are these actually called, so I'm not sounding like a fool? We got Rib Peaks, Peak Pass, and good old Blackwater. Karn, as to keep you from doing more attritioning, just gonna slowly move through Flensburg. Got 800 predicted income. While we're here, let's grab 1 unit of Flamers. Maybe some cheap and cheerful Marauders. Just to throw into our front line. Although the normal Marauders are kind of useless. So instead we'll just grab the unit of Flamers. Sit here for 2 turns is kind of scary. Let's get 3 more of the blues, Chaos Furies, and then we'll kind of get off the side where we're not going to be run into on accident by Vlad, which would be all the worst. Let's go work that up to tier 3 Mercantile Illusion, giving us 560 gold a turn.
Whisperer of unwelcome.
And another turn for us. Ostland has been wiped. That was quick. It went from having settlements to not because they irritated the Ice Court. That's going to throw the Elector counts further into disarray, which is perfect. Let's move on in and Channeling Stance. Set up ourselves a new cult here in Grudenwald.
Fight fiercely, but not fair.
And then we'll just go ahead and set up a symbiotic cult here.
There are seekers after wisdom.
Beautiful.
Tzeentch wills it.
Now we've got to see if we can't get a couple more land battles under our belt. As for our schemes, the Kundites still need to be wiped out, so hopefully the Empire actually moves to do that quite soon.
Holy victory.
We're at 5 out of 15 land battles. It's going to take quite some time to complete. And then it's just Drakenhof and fighting battles against the Dawi. So what we need is to decide on where to start our next theater of war. Do we want to move up into Norska and Kislev, as it's just right here? We'd be gaining bountiful reserves for dealing with, or getting some corruption in Monolith of Bjorkil. Winning against Norska would give us the form of Wulfric and Throg, which is, this is just Wulfric on foot, so he's a very strong duelist, but he's able to be run away from quite easily. And then we'd get deadly equipment, so more armor and more base weapon damage for all of our armies. Katerin, Kastaltin, and Estonkia for setting up cults in all of the main cities in Kislev. Sacking Hell Pit would give us Gorich and some pretty solid armor. Also just come up to Athaloran and get ourselves some Doom Rockets. So what we will do is we'll have ourselves a poll, and have you all decide where we're headed to next. We've got the Badlands and the Southlands, Bretonnia and Athaloran, Darklands and the Mountains of Morn, Grand Cathay, Lustria, Nagaroth, Norska and Kislev, or Ulthuan. Spiky monster part? Is this Tide Call? That's hilarious. Just go rip a chunk off a Noctilus. Either way, that's going to be all the time I have got for today. I have been Space Wars in Total War. Thank you all so much for stopping by part 3 of our Changeling campaign. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like for the Light God and a sub for the Sub Throne. I'll see you all in the next one.